I think it's important for type 1 diabetics to not shy away from difficulty. Type 1 diabetes is hard. Type 1 diabetes is an obstacle. Type 1 diabetes is adversity. So you face that every day. So put yourself in more adverse situations, overcome more obstacles that are not related to type 1 diabetes, and that can teach you something about your type 1 diabetes management. We're go-getters. We are math machines, calculation machines, and we face death more often than the average person. Too much insulin can kill us, not enough insulin can kill us. But that shouldn't scare you. That hypes me up because that means I can do difficult things. Type 1 diabetes is difficult and I can manage it. What else can I do? Welcome to the T1Determined Podcast, where we bridge the conversation of type 1 diabetes and endurance. I'm Joseph Anthony Marcello, an endurance athlete and a mountaineer. As someone living with T1D, I'm on a mission to uncover and share science-backed information that drives optimal performance and longevity. And as a storyteller, I'm here to explore and share incredible feats in T1D sports physiology. Let's tackle this together. Today, I talk in more depth about my time on Kilimanjaro as a type 1 diabetic. Specifically, I go into the mindset that led me to the mountain for my honeymoon and lessons that I've learned since my climb. As an endurance athlete, I discuss a unique perspective to see T1D as an opportunity to better oneself, as well as the crucial need for support systems in our lives, such as my wife, Katerina, is for me. My mission today is to present you with these ideas while going through the story of my adventure to the roof of Africa. As we build this podcast from the ground up, your support is crucial for our continued growth. Wherever you're listening, please share this episode and others with anyone you think might benefit. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X at T1D_endurance, and on Facebook and YouTube at T1Determined, and visit our website, T1Determined.net. Please also like and subscribe, and you can leave up to a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Before we dive in, the topics discussed and the recommendations shared by myself and our guests are personal experiences and not medical prescriptions. Always consult your healthcare team and medical professionals before making any changes to your daily routines, management, or therapies. And now, my discussion about climbing Kilimanjaro as a type 1 diabetic. My type 1 diabetes therapy method is multiple daily injections, also known as MDI. In the lead up to Kilimanjaro and at this current moment, I inject, so I have a basal, which is long-acting, and a bolus, which is short-acting. My basal is Lantus. I inject 10 units of Lantus in the morning, 10 units of Lantus before dinner, and then on a scale of 5 to 10 units of Lantus at night before bed, depending on what my blood sugar is at. My short-acting, my bolus insulin is Humalog or rapid-acting. I'm on the Humalog Junior pens because I'm so sensitive to insulin, and my ratio is 1 unit of insulin per 7 carbs, sometimes 0.7, 0.5 carbs, depending on what my blood sugar is doing. So that literally means I have to inject. I get a needle, I have a pen, and I inject the insulin. I do not have anything attached to me but a continuous glucose monitor. So I wear the Dexcom G6. For the mountain, I wore the Dexcom G6, the Dexcom G7 10-day sensor, and the Dexcom G7 15-day sensor. I wore 3. I have an A1C of 5.2. I'm very meticulous. I am very on point with my diet, my exercise, and everything. I'm very well disciplined because that discipline leads me to freedom. And the multiple daily injections, while a bigger load to carry, I have to inject a lot. I have to face needles. It allows me the flexibility to be more precise with my blood sugar as opposed to other methods. I do think every method is amazing. The Omnipod, the tandem pumps, the twist, like every sort of pump, and multiple daily injections, the inhalation insulin, all of them, whatever works for you is great. For me specifically, I'm allowed to be very meticulous with multiple daily injections, so I continue to do that. Since a kid, watching The Lion King and seeing it within the first scene, Kilimanjaro was always on my mind. I always found it fascinating when I started learning about mountains that Kili is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world and the only mountain that goes through 5 different ecosystems from bottom to top. Totally different landscapes from bottom to top, different environments, and it's so cool. I found it so cool, and I just knew I had to get there. My mission is to get to the tops of the world. That's a very vague, broad statement. Um, I'm not claiming to be the first type 1 and diabetic to climb Everest or to climb Kilimanjaro. It's been done plenty of times. I just want to get there for my own sake and do it the best way that I can in the most healthy manner because I just want to experience this planet. That is my mission. I want to do the 7 summits. I would love to do the 14 tallest peaks in the world. I want to get to that high level, high stakes mountaineering. And I am working my way as somebody who did not grow up in that. To get there. I grew up in Flat, Massachusetts. So in my way, I want to get there, and Kilimanjaro is a stepping stone to get to the big arena. I look at this as it is a sport. Gearing up for Kilimanjaro, at that time I was at like the highest altitude I've been to is 14,500 feet multiple times. So I just was nervous about my type 1 of how it would react higher than that, just because I haven't been higher than that. No research was indicating. The research only indicates that altitude affects type 1 diabetes because it makes your body exert yourself more, faster heart rate, more exertion, even cortisol levels being released because of stress hormones. It just affects your type 1 diabetes. It's such an individualized disease that you really don't know how it affects your body until you're there. So that's what I was nervous about. I was nervous about the unknown. But it was looking at the whole expedition as a whole was very nerve-wracking because I'm like, well, what if something happens on day 1 and I can't continue day 1, but what if I'd be fine on day 7? I really had to take it step by step and coach myself through it I've learned the management, I know what I'm doing, just go slowly, and take each day as it goes. And there are a lot of people there. I never want to rely on being saved by people. So I think I was nervous about messing up. Like I put all the pressure on me leading up to Kilimanjaro. Hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have, but I was nervous about finding out something about my body that I did not know. And that was a control thing, losing control of controllables. So Katerina and I were thinking about honeymoons, and somebody mentioned a safari out in Africa, and we're like, what if we do a safari? And I was like, if we're gonna do a safari, we're climbing Kilimanjaro. And she was like, okay. And I was like, really? And she's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, and I was like, okay, maybe this could be real. We were at an outing and we were talking to some people who just came back from a safari, and they said that their friends climbed Kilimanjaro with the safari company. And I was like, oh, this just turned real. We got back and I'm just like, why not do Kilimanjaro? We live one life. We can barely financially afford it. But this is the one time in our life that we can actually do something this crazy and this insane. And she was like, can I do the safari after? I was like, yeah, sure. Let's do this. Well, she was like, can we do the safari and the climb? And I was like, well, let's do the climb first. So we can get the hard thing out of the way and then we can do the safari after. I did tell her how hard it was. I don't think she believed me, but I also really wanted to go. So I kind of persuaded her that it could be done, which I knew she can do it. I had so much trust in her, but I was like, oh, now I gotta seriously put my trust into her and let's get ready together. I mean, what better way to break in a new marriage than to climb the tallest mountain in Africa? To attempt Kilimanjaro is a proving point to myself that I can take my type 1 diabetes to remote places. I've been to Alaska before, but I wasn't climbing hard in Alaska. I was doing crevasse course on a glacier. This would be extreme exertion at higher altitude on a big mountain. Again, I know it's climbed a lot, but it's still one of the biggest mountains on the planet. I needed to prove to myself that I can do something this strenuous because I want this to be the beginning of my journey. I've come so far. But again, this is another step. And I need to focus so tunely in on the mountain because Kilimanjaro deserves the immense amount of respect that it requests from us just to get up to the top. And to get to the summit, Uru Peak, is spiritual to me. I have a strong sense of religion. I believe in God and Christ, Roman Catholic, but I truly believe that there is a spiritual element to mountains. Perhaps souls, spirits are there. They embody them. Angels and saints, whatever history allows it to be and whatever the reality is, I believe there's something special about a peak. And to get to the top of a continent while here on this planet during my short lifespan, very spiritually rewarding. I find myself getting closer to God, both in the fact of I can get my mind there, I can get my physical body there, and I am there. And within that arc, this is my passion. Climbing Kilimanjaro, I think, is one of the reasons why I'm here, is to get up there and to experience that and to conquer something like that with type 1 diabetes. It's just, it shows what can be done in God's creation. I intensely trained for Kilimanjaro and included an exercise program that was cardio 3 times a week, resistance training 2 to 3 times a week, and then every 2 to 3 weeks going on big hikes, whether this was overnight back country camping, or we went to Colorado to do training hikes to get up at higher altitude because we're from Boston. So I went up to New Hampshire as much as I possibly could. Went to Colorado once, started hiking in cold weather because October, November, December is colder weather up in New Hampshire. So that was what my training consisted of. When I wasn't on the trail in society, as I call it, I was running a lot, resistance training a lot, long distances between 5 to 10 miles. Before my Kili training, my designated Kili training, I was training for a marathon. So the marathon was in September, Kilimanjaro was at the end of December. So I used how in shape I was from the marathon training to continue my training, just kind of shift it more towards weight-bearing loads as opposed to running fast, and then longer endurance trips that would last more than a couple days as opposed to a couple hours. But I used the cardio respiratory benefits that I've had from marathon training, carried it into the Kilimanjaro training. So I kind of treat my daily life and my daily routines as if I'm a professional athlete living with type 1 diabetes, and I take the type 1 diabetes as part of my sport, part of my athleticism. It's just another aspect in there. That viewpoint has led me to a 5.2 A1C on a carb-heavy diet as an endurance athlete. I don't say that to brag. I say that because it's working, and the discipline allows me to go after my sport, go after my goals. That's my freedom. Freedom is not eating a croissant or a donut. Freedom to me is being out in the mountains or running a marathon. Exercise directly affects type 1 diabetes. Let's just use the example of cardiovascular exercise. I'm going for a run. Elevated heart rate between 130 to 150 beats per minute at a sustained period of time, longer than 5 to 10 minutes, will start to lower blood sugar. So you have to have a balancing act. This is the same with hiking, of intaking sugar because my blood sugar is lowering with my exertion. So I need to eat sugar to counter that lowering. Other aspects of exercise, so resistance training is shown to raise blood sugar a little bit. But stress, especially while hiking, and adrenaline for like a race, cortisol, adrenaline, and just stress hormones in general actually raise blood sugar. So there are times where you can have elevated blood sugar while exercising. You can become insulin resistant, so you might not actually need insulin, or your exertion can naturally take that down. It's a whole mess. It really is. I just kind of want to explain the basics here, because I mean, there's entire scientific studies, and we can go on and on about how exercise affects blood sugar. But just know, in the hiking sense, per Kilimanjaro, the longer I move, I either have to get my blood sugar down from being so high by moving more, or I need to eat more sugar because I'm moving, my blood sugar is going lower. Being active as a type 1 diabetic has tremendously helped my type 1 management and my mental health. I mean, being active allows for better glucose control, and better glucose control allows a better mental health status. Fluctuating blood sugars really mess up my mind. Not to say I never have fluctuating blood sugars, and when I do, I find myself more irritated and aggravated easier. I find myself more down on myself. I just don't have as good as a mood as I do when I have controlled blood sugar, and being active allows for that controlled blood sugar. It's not easy being active with type 1 diabetes, but the reward is so prevalent. And then it allows me, I've built a trust within myself to be able to go to focus on my mental health and nature. I find solace in nature, and that really resets me, to focus on my consciousness. And I have a trust that I can go out into the backcountry, I can go out for a nature walk, I can go out for a run, and I have everything with me, including the knowledge on how to handle my type 1 diabetes, that I can then focus on everything else. Because if something happens to my blood sugar, I know how to handle what happens to my blood sugar. My blood sugar goes high, I know how to handle it. If I'm exerting myself, I run a little bit slower or faster to get it back down, or I inject insulin. My blood sugar goes low, I have the sugar with me. If my CGM fails, I have the test strips with me. So being able to trust myself allows me the opportunity to focus on my mind and get me into places where I can really focus on my mental health. I'm nervous about managing my type 1.
Seeing the peak really humbles you.
Make sure I got my sugar with me. Make sure I got my insulin with me.
Keeping everything warm. We don't want to stop for too long up there.
She has a very positive attitude. Hakuna Matata, no worries. But it's going to be difficult for both of us, so we'll do it together.
Being new to married life, this is a great door into bonding. You have your best friend with you the whole time.
We'll see what we're made of when we step foot on Kilimanjaro. T1 Kili, a honeymoon adventure, coming this autumn 2026. So I did have a management plan going into Kilimanjaro. It consisted of bringing my own bulgur. So I wanted to bring my own complex carbs. I do think while on the mountain, there was the language barrier of what I can eat. There's not a lot of knowledge out there in the world about type 1 diabetes. So not a lot of people, especially local people, understood what type 1 diabetes was and understood that I was taking it to the point where I had a strict diet that I needed to follow. So I controlled what I could control. And that included bringing energy gels, electrolytes, fast-acting sugar, fats, and snacks for the hiking part of the day, to get my blood sugar up, but to also be able to have the nutrients that I needed while hiking and climbing. And then the dinners and the meals at night consisted of me eating that complex carb that I brought, the bulgur, electrolytes like Element. We had a lot of potassium, magnesium. I brought my creatine and my collagen, my multivitamin, my omega-3 fatty acids. I brought what I could bring, and controlled what I could control. And that was my diet plan going into Kilimanjaro. I think my diet plan tremendously helped. It was something I could follow, even when it wasn't going exactly to plan, because sometimes of the meals they would give would have sauces, bread, stuff that I couldn't count the carbs. So instead of eating it, I would try to shy away. I tried some stuff, but I shied away. I tried to eat what I could. So like the meat tended to be the simple stuff, with no sauces on everything. Yeah, so that was try to replicate what I ate back home as much as possible while enjoying the food that was given. Culturally, I wanted to taste the food, but also performance-wise, I needed to replenish those nutrients and those calories. But the hardest part about type 1 diabetes is the carbohydrates. So if I could control the carbohydrates by bringing my own. That was the plan. Heading into Kilimanjaro, I think I was really scared of whether I could actually handle my condition for the entire 7-day expedition. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of hype going up to it. But then once we're there, we're thrown off from the long flights, catching up on jet lag sleep, in a new foreign country, new to me, and in a landscape and environment that I haven't been in before. It's just like you can prepare so much until you're actually there. And I think I was just being like, I've prepared so much. Will it all work? Will it pan out? Or did I mess up in planning? And then is the mountain so all-knowing that it will have the final say, which it does. The Kilimanjaro definitely has the final say. I think I was scared of whether the mountain was on my side or not. That first day setting off on Kilimanjaro, walking in the rainforest, you couldn't really see much of it until the next day, but stepping foot on that mountain, I was like, the journey is beginning. This is game time. I must be focused from here on out. And it's hard to be focused for 7 straight days. But I also was telling myself, enjoy it. You're not going to be in these ecosystems for long because there's so many different ones you're going through. And we had lunch in the rain. And it was so amazing to just be like, I'm enjoying this rain. This rain is so cool. Like, I'm soaked, I'm drenched, but I'm fine. I'm eating food. I'm having a snack. Like, my blood sugar is doing good. So stepping foot on the mountain that I dreamed of, it was a surreal feeling being in your dream. It did feel like a dream at first. On the mountain, I wore 3 continuous glucose monitors. I wore the Dexcom G6, I wore the Dexcom G7 10-day sensor, and I wore the Dexcom G7 15-day sensor. I was part of the test trial for the 15-day sensor. I had a couple 10-day sensors, G7 10-day sensors left over, and I was resorting back to the G6 because the G7 was not working for me. So I had all 3 with me before leaving. So I was like, let me test all 3. I think that was a great opportunity to kind of prove to myself. I thought I was going crazy with the G7s not working for me. I thought it was my own fault. And taking all 3 allowed me to test for myself what worked best for me in the best place possible. I mean, I don't think you have a situation where you have a type 1 diabetic testing all 3 of the latest Dexcom sensors at once and seeing which one is the best. Finding out that the G6, which is not their new ones, is the best one. So I don't know what they're doing, but they got to take a step back in order to go a step forward because, at least for me, because it's so individualized, but the Dexcom G6 was flawless throughout the entire time. The G7 15-day sensor kept on erroring out. When it wasn't erroring out, it was accurate. And then the G7 10-day sensor failed on me within 4 days. Didn't even make 10 days, failed on day 4. Very similar to what I've seen wearing the G7 10-day sensor. Ruined my life for a couple months until I resorted back to the G6. G6 now is flawless. I'm very upset that they're going to get rid of it. It's going to it's going to create another obstacle for me in life. Spending New Year's Eve on Kilimanjaro was both exciting and uneventful. It was the first New Year's Eve that I think I slept through. We were going to bed when it got dark out, and I said to Katerina, I was like, I know people are going to be celebrating around midnight. Should we get up? And she was so focused on let's get some sleep while we can get some sleep. So I was like, all right, I'm going to set my alarm at 11:55. I woke up past the alarm at like 11:59 to people counting down. And then there was cheers, there was singing, and we all heard it from the tent. I poked my head out. It was really cool to see because we're at a place where there was a bunch of people celebrating. And that night, I was like 2 a.m. I had to go up to go to the bathroom. And it was a new year. And the stars were out, and I got out of the tent, and then I could see, it was so bright, I could see the summit of Kilimanjaro. It was almost like the summit from 12,000 feet was wishing me a happy new year and was like, all right, you're going to reel in this brand new year with an objective that, well, the memory of this adventure will last a lifetime. Happy New Year, my friend. And just seeing it and not being at that summit at that point was scary, was so cool seeing the summit under the stars. After we walked through the rainforest, that was day 1 and 2. Day 3, we're heading into the moorland. Um, our goal for day 3 was to climb high, sleep low. So we wanted to hike up to 15,000 feet and then back down on the other side, sleep around, I think it was 12,000, 13,000 feet, 12,500, something like that. Um, Hiking up to 15,000 feet, getting to 15,000 feet, that at that point is the highest that I've been, altitude wise. So I was like, day 3 is the day that we are heading into uncharted territory. Um, I don't know how my body's going to react with higher altitude. I have predictions of it, but this is where the game started. We got up, had lunch at 15,000 feet. I think I was learning still the ropes of moving and stopping, and I think I was having too much sugar compared to the pace that we were moving. I wasn't exerting myself so much, so I had lunch, and my blood sugar skyrocketed at 15,000 feet, and then we're going back down to 13,000 feet. And I needed to inject insulin to lower my blood sugar. And I think I just had multiple days of still testing the waters, and having high blood sugar, and me thinking to myself on day 3, being like, I don't think I can do this. My blood sugar is so high. I got to get better control. And then realizing that it's like, all right, you're here. Day 3, you have day 4, day 5, day 6 to the summit. So you got 3 more days to the summit. You're learning how to manage. The first 3 days were a test trial period for you. So just get back into the zone. This is your sport. You know exactly what to do. And from that moment, I talked to myself and coaching myself. Coaching myself is huge. Coaching myself is real. That's when day 4 got a lot better. I had beautiful blood sugars day 4 and day 5. Up the Barranco Wall, we were scrambling. I loved that because that was the kind of terrain that we're used to. Up in New Hampshire, the scrambling, and then my blood sugar was doing good. And then we got back up to slip at like 13, 14,000 feet. And then on our way to base camp, we went from the moorland into the high plains desert. So day 5 in the high plains desert was so cool. I just felt like I was walking in like Dune or Star Wars or something. And my blood sugar started falling into place. I started learning what worked for me and what didn't. I started being comfortable with having a little elevated blood sugar as that buffer for safety so I didn't drop low. And the elevation gain per day was the same. The mileage would differ, but from day 4, I think was the massive confidence building day. We got to see Kilimanjaro, the top of it, really awesome views. The weather started to be really good, even though we were high up. The sun hitting allowed for warm temperatures. Sleeping was comfortable. We got a lot of rest in. So Katerina and I spent a lot of time together enjoying each other's company in the mess tent, looking at the views, filming, and we got to start looking at what a summit push is going to be like. Day 5, we ended day 5 getting up to base camp. Base camp was so cool because that was the first time that it really felt international. You had an international presence and everybody was gearing up and you saw people coming down from the summit. Some people looked rough, man. Nerves started to get in there of like, oh, we're here. But I was also like, oh, I'm alive. My blood sugars are okay. At this point, I'm at base camp. I'm at the launching pad. I've got the launch to go. I've got the summit push to go. If I can get to the summit, we've done it. We made it. We are that much closer. So it felt like the lead up days to the summit push were like the warm up. And then the summit push was like the real big game. And I got to enjoy the warm-up. I got to enjoy the landscape. It's so beautiful there. I got to learn a lot about the culture and talk to people and meet people from Sweden, from different parts of the world, and get to ask why they're here on Kilimanjaro, because everybody has a reason of their own. And then it was just like the summit push is like the Super Bowl. All eyes on that day. So we started off in the jungle, then we went to the moorland, and then the high plains desert, and then the crater rim is the glacier area. So that's four of the five. The fifth is like the bottom part where it's all farmland and coffee plantations. Seeing the different ecosystems and going through the different ecosystems is amazing. I mean, we started in the coffee farm, then we went into the jungle, and then we went into the moorland, and then we went to High Plains Desert, and then on the summit push, we kept on going up to the crater area and the glaciers, and just seeing such a variety of a planet within one location is amazing. The plants look different. They look like they're prepared for a desert, but then all of a sudden you're in a desert and there's a lack of vegetation. So it was like almost like walking through a Dr. Seuss book. And you think to yourself, wow, I'm on a different planet, but this is your planet. And to see such variety and such cool looking creatures. We saw dik-diks there. We saw the blue monkeys early days, and just to have so much life around you, but so much different life. Very emblematic of a one world concept of different cultures and different people living together in harmony. I think that mountain is very emblematic of that. Really cool to see. I suggest everybody just go out and see the world. Thanks to your support, the T1Determined podcast is growing fast. We're releasing more episodes and working on our documentary projects, T1 Kili, T1 Denali, and T1 Americas, showing what is possible with type 1 diabetes and endurance alongside elite T1D athletes. To help us help more T1Ds, we're opening up sponsor spots on the show. If you own or run a diabetes or athletic-related business, here is your opportunity to connect with a dedicated niche audience through personal host-read ads. If you want to be a trusted representative of our mission to educate and empower type 1 diabetics and introduce your product to a global market, consider partnering with us so we can level up together. Send an email to podcast@T1Determined.net to start the conversation. We are so grateful that our listeners have brought the T1Determined podcast this far, and we are excited for what's ahead. Continuous glucose monitors measure your blood sugar every 5 minutes, allowing you to track a trend, allowing you to see what you're doing, whether it's activity, being sedentary, or ingesting food or lack of food, or hydration of beverages. Having continuous glucose monitor allows you to see the reaction your body has with your blood glucose levels. Extremely important to have in such an environment and location as high altitude hiking and climbing. It allows you to monitor, continuous glucose monitor, but with the knowledge that you get of what affects your body, it allows you to become a predicting machine and to use that monitor as a tool for you. I had 3 on me. It was a cool, fun experience. It was a cool, fun experiment, but also allowed me to just keep full tabs on me. At least one of them at all times was accurate, and I measured it by pricking my finger with a manual glucometer. So technically, I had 4 ways to measure my blood sugar. And I think that is crucial because if I'm thinking about it and my blood sugar is okay, then that allows me performance-wise to move on and get to the summit. So that's why I had such meticulous control. That's why I think about it so often, because if I know what my blood sugar is doing, I cannot allow myself to get on the other side of danger. I can stay within the window of safety. And that just adds on to the other obstacles that present danger. You're climbing up a mountain. Altitude is danger. I want to stay in the window of safety, know my headache or not. Rock fall, ice fall, anything that you think can go wrong, weather. I take type 1 diabetes and I put that in the same category. So I'm constantly thinking about what are dangers while I'm hiking to keep myself safe. And it's weather, cold, hydration, temperature. Blood sugar is a category with the others. So in the lead up days, the summit push, my blood sugar was higher than I was used to it. It stayed between my goal though, 100 and 250. I think on the hike during day 3, it got up to 300, and above 300, and I don't like that, milligrams per deciliter. So that's when I injected insulin, was on the way back down. But at that point, I didn't let it get that high. Again, if I ate, it got high and then I exerted myself and then it lowered. So for example, in the morning, I'd have breakfast and I would have carbs as part of that breakfast, carbohydrates as part of that breakfast, and then it would raise my blood sugar. And then I would start moving, and then exerting myself would lower my blood sugar. I had to remember to stay hydrated the entire time. Hydration was a huge key. I did not feel altitude affect me that much. I felt in shape. I felt ready for what was ahead of me. When I got to 15,000 feet, that was the highest I've ever been. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel altitude until I woke up the morning of the summit push, and had a little bit of a headache. And that was when I was nervous of like, oh, am I going to start to feel altitude? But up until the summit push, I knew I trained myself well enough to get to a position for the summit push. I was nervous about the summit push. I just knew it was going to be short mileage with an intense amount of elevation gain at an altitude I'd never been to before. With colder temperatures, moving in the dark, lack of sleep, and it's not only myself I have to worry about, I have to get my love. That's what I felt the responsibility, like we have to get up there together. One of us is turning around, we're both turning around. That was the deal that we made. So I was nervous. It was the first time on the trip I was nervous about just more than my diabetes. I think it's important for type 1 diabetics to not shy away from difficulty. Type 1 diabetes is hard. Type 1 diabetes is an obstacle. Type 1 diabetes is adversity. So you face that every day. So put yourself in more adverse situations, overcome more obstacles that are not related to type 1 diabetes, and that can teach you something about your type 1 diabetes management. We're go-getters. We are math machines, calculation machines, and we face death more often than the average person. Too much insulin can kill us, not enough insulin can kill us. But that shouldn't scare you. That hypes me up because that means I can do difficult things. Type 1 diabetes is difficult and I can manage it. What else can I do? Waking up on summit morning was definitely a little bit nerve-wracking, but I was amped, I was hyped, I was ready to go. I felt like the little bit of sleep that I've got was sufficed. I felt like I got more sleep than I actually did. Katerina was like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, come on, let's go. We got to do this. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. I really felt like it. I woke up, my blood sugar's at 140, 150. I was like, that's great. By the time breakfast rolled around, cortisol spiked it up to 180. And I was like, I don't need to eat that much to begin, but I should start eating. I think the lack of sleep caused my stress levels, my stress hormones to rise, which kept my blood sugar elevated. So my blood sugar was in a safe window, but not as predicted, but I knew how to manage it. So I was like, had my coffee right away, and I was sipping this coffee, and I was like, it's go time. It really is go time. This is the moment we've been waiting for. We've come halfway across the planet for this moment, this next stretch of time. The steep incline heading up to the crater rim on our way up to Stella Point was the hardest part of the expedition. It was just literally climbing a straight wall on your 2 feet. So it was like not steep enough where you're like scrambling, but steep enough where every step was like painful. It was cold. It was dark. It was windy. And stress hormones. My blood sugar was high. I was exhausted. There was no sleep, and the altitude was getting higher and higher. We went up to 16,000, 17,000, 18,000 feet, and it kept going and going. It was cool to see the headlamps, the other headlamps going up the mountain. But like it felt like I was like, I don't know, a cross between underwater and on the moon, because my headlamp felt like the light was in front of me and it was like I was underwater, like in the Titanic or something. But then the landscape around me was also so vast that it felt like I was on like this rocky moon. So it was like, it was the weirdest thing ever. And it was difficult. It was the first time of like, oh, this is what I trained for. This is the hard part. I could see Katerina was slowing down. I was slowing down. And it was like, this is the grind. We are in the grind part. We are in the hard part. And I was like, in my mind, I kept thinking to myself, just keep moving on. The longer the day goes on, the more steps you take, the closer you get to the summit. I can't see Stella Point. It seems so far away. They keep telling me it's right there and it's not. I keep telling Katerina it's right there and I know it's not. She's getting more and more pissed at me because she knows I'm not telling. I don't know. I'm trying to motivate her. It was hard. And then we finally got to Stella Point and I saw that sign and I was like, yes, the summit's right there. But then I was like, oh, Katerina's not doing well. She's definitely not doing well. She was shaking. She was cold. She did not want to drink water because she barely wanted to stop on the way up. So the guides, the language discrepancy, they were like, do you want hot water? Hot water. And she's like, I don't want hot water. I want regular water. And I was instantly went husband guide mode and was like, here's a puffy jacket that was in my bag. Put this on, sit down and have some water, regular water, screw the hot water. Within a couple minutes, she was doing so much better and we knew that we could move on. But getting to Stella Point to me was an accomplishment because I knew we were close to the summit. So Stella Point is the point on the crater rim. So now we're on the crater rim and we had to walk around the crater rim to the summit, Uru Peak. And I knew we could get there. I was like, if we get to Stella Point, we can get to the summit. It can take us all day to walk up that ramp, but we can get there. Really hype moment getting Stella Point. And then like making sure my love was okay and doing good. Not that she was doing the best, but she was doing better. It was cold up there though. Definitely cold. We were more exposed. And then walking to the summit. So like, it was just step by slow step by slow step. I was so used to my blood sugar. I think it was around like 200 at one point. It got up to 300, but didn't stay at 300 for that long. So I was okay. It was staying between 150 and 200, which is right where I wanted it to be. That safe window. Like if I'm sitting here right now, my blood sugar is that high. I wouldn't like that. But up on 19,000 feet, basically on one of the tallest points of the planet, tallest point of Africa. Yeah, no, that was definitely a safe window. And it was on that rim being like, Katerina, we can do this together. This turned into a game of two rather than focusing on how I'm doing. It's like, let's get to the top together. Step by slow step by slow step. It was painful. The ramp was definitely longer than anticipated, but we managed. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful seeing the sunrise over Mwenzi, one of the other peaks of Kilimanjaro, and just seeing the whole route that you kind of climbed up below you, seeing the glaciers. I've been on glaciers before, but I haven't seen a glacier just sitting on top. Like it was like the glacier itself was just sitting like an ice block. Once the sun came up, it started to get warmer too, but you realize that you're on a planet and you're on a unique spot in a planet. And yeah, a lot of people go to it, but to experience it yourself, words can't describe how beautiful it was. I thought the summit sign was going to come up a lot sooner than it did. And there was a point where I was like, oh, the summit's right there. We're standing on the summit. And Kat is like, this isn't the summit. There's no sign. I'm like, oh yeah, the summit has a sign. I knew that the whole time. I just don't know what was affecting me in that moment, that I was really trying to convince her to move on and continue on forward. And it's so crazy because when we were so close to the summit and we could see the sign, we're on the crater rim, the sun is rising. All my thought about type 1 diabetes, like all my concern about type 1 and my health condition kind of dissipated. I was just a normal human doing this thing. And it's just like I knew my blood sugar was okay in a safe spot. And I can just enjoy this moment and where we are right now and making sure that Katerina and I both get to the summit. And I was not thinking about the diabetes. I had it in check, so it's not like it was totally vacant from my mind, but I was thinking about the summit and the sign. And when I saw that sign, I held Katerina's hand and I was like, we're going to do this together. We have come this far together. We're going to finish this strong together. Now I know there's a whole way down. I am a smart mountaineer. I like to think that most accidents happen on the way down, but just getting to the summit, dream come true, mission accomplished. And then we kissed on the summit. New marriage, new year, welcoming a life together. It was the crux. So symbolic, so meaningful. She took my dream of climbing Kilimanjaro and made it her own in her own way. She didn't make it my dream. She made it her own in her own way. So even though it wasn't her dream for as long, it became our dream together. And that's so special. So special to be able to share that together. Stepping onto the roof of Africa, Uru Peak, with the sign, that proved that I can manage this with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 on the summit, like I said, I wasn't really thinking about it. It was in good check, and I was kind of measuring it, but I have so many routines. Again, I have so many symbolic things that I do on summits that I just wanted to make sure we got all the photos, we got all the videos. I said my certain spiritual things that I needed to say and do. And the view, just like, it was like sitting in an airplane looking off at like the clouds in an airplane and the sun coming up, and it just had like a sunrise hue, and it was beautiful with the glaciers. And then the other side of the crater rim, you can see into the crater. You see little footsteps of people walking there. We didn't go there, but like you could see people walking there. And it was just so cool, so immense. It was like standing on a dinosaur. Kind of. It was like stepping back in time. I won't ever forget what that summit looks like. The kiss on that summit between Katerina and I just showed us the life that we want, and that we're going towards that life, and we're working towards that life. And I think that mentality is going to be so beneficial because that allows us to be the best versions of ourselves for our family members here and then for our future generations. Think about longevity of like how long we can live here on this planet, but also longevity as what our future family looks like. Because I mean, hundreds of years from now, it's going to be the bloodline that continues on, not the memory of us. So if we can install a mindset into that bloodline, what a hell of a mindset that two newlyweds on a honeymoon can climb the tallest mountain in Africa. One with a chronic condition and one a support to the other with a chronic condition. I think the summit proved to her that she can go to remote places too. I think the summit proved to Katerina that we can have this adventurous lifestyle and that she does not have to worry either. Because I mean, it's tough to do it at type 1, but it's also tough to do it as a regular person. A lot of regular people can't make it to the top. A lot of regular people can't do what we're doing. So she has to prove to herself that she can do it first too. And that we can be companions with each other for these dreams, that it doesn't have to stay a fantasy, that these dreams don't have to stay dreams, they can become reality. I think that's what the summit meant to her. Living with type 1 diabetes honestly makes life more rewarding. It allows me to appreciate every decision I make. Every food and every bite I have reminds me of how much of a gift life is. If I haven't been so confronted with death, like as type 1 diabetics, again, too much insulin and too little insulin can kill us. Every single day, you mess up one day and it's over. But that makes everything so much more rewarding. It almost allows stuff to slow down, appreciate the time period that we're in, that we can be living with a chronic condition with so much technology and therapy methods that allow us to live a healthy, normal life. That's insane. To have a chronic illness that's out to kill me and to be able to have regular blood levels with it and to be able to be an endurance athlete with it and to be able to monitor it to a point where I can get to the roof of Africa, and to think that that is just the first step in something even bigger. What a time to be alive. The scent was wild. Straight up, straight down. So we went down basically like a slide, a gravel slide back down to base camp. So we dropped from 19,000 feet to 15,000 feet very quickly. And it was like step, slide, step, slide, step. Whoa. People were falling left and right. Our guides were like, oh, we got him up to the summit. Good luck. And like they didn't give up on us, obviously. They were still there. But like they were very like less cautious of like how we were doing. They just took off in front of us and we're just like, it was a mess going down. And in my mind, the back of my mind, I'm like, most accidents happen on the way down. Most accidents happen on the way down. Watch your footing, watch your step, watch your footing. And there was one point where the sun was up, it was hot, so contrast from the cold. We're slipping and sliding everywhere, people falling all around us, and, like, it was just funny. It was really just funny. Kat looked like a snowboarder at that point, just, like, because she delayered to everything and just had, like, and even myself, it just, like, had, like, snow pants on, and we're in just, like, this desert-like terrain, on a steep slide, and we just started laughing, and we were just like, "Let's have fun with it." We safely got back down to base camp, and we took a quick break and kept on moving down. We descended down most of the mountain that day. It was a long day. We started at, 12, and then we didn't stop until 6 or 7 at night, so that's 12, 18 hours of moving, of constant moving. It was a lot. My blood sugar, I didn't even have to give as much insulin. The higher blood sugar just steady itself out. Once I got back down to base camp, and then once we kept moving, my blood sugar was back under 150, back down to 120, back down 190, and stayed between 90 and like 110 for the rest of the day. I kept on having a couple snacks to keep it from dropping lower than 90, but I was like, now is the point where I can start to get back into a regular zone. When descending, going to lower altitude, blood sugar reacts differently on the way down, and I don't have to be as high as much. Still had to watch the lows, but it started to correct itself. I think from the Tanzanian culture, I want to take with me for the rest of my life and implement into myself the friendliness that they had. It's like, even if there was a language barrier, they try to understand us. They were there for us. And just every person that we walked by on the mountain said, "Jumbo, Jumbo," always said hello. And I want to take that with me. We do live in a very intense culture right now where neighbors very much dislike neighbors, and we got to remind each other that we're all going through this journey of life together. And even though we all have different viewpoints, nobody asked about viewpoints on the mountain. Everybody on the mountain was just happy to be there. So we got to remember to be just happy to be here, and just to treat each other with a sense of appreciation that we're all here. And then from that culture, I'm going to take the friendliness back with me. That mountain would not be what it is without its porters. The porter industry is crucial to the economy there, but it is crucial to us getting to the summit. Our team was absolutely amazing. Beautiful, beautiful people. It just made the mountain how friendly every single person was on our team, not on our team. It was just great.
Project Insulation, curated Type 1 backcountry expeditions to help build confidence and independence in Type 1s. Too many Type 1s live with these limiting beliefs that they either can't, they shouldn't, or it's going to be too difficult for them to manage their diabetes. What if I don't have enough insulin? What if my sensor comes out? What if I go low on the trail? The whole purpose of Project Insulation is to take you and submerge you into a community of people who live with Type 1, so they understand you, they deal with the same thought processes and the same difficulties that you deal with every day, and they take you and show you together that you can do anything that you want to do with Type 1. We would like to expand Project Insulation into 3 tiers: beginner, intermediate, and expert level trips. Our beginner trips are going to be your overnight to maybe 3-day trips with 2 overnights. The intermediate trips are what we're kind of running now. They're more for people who have some outdoor experience, who want to push and challenge themselves to do harder things. And as we open to expert level, we're looking to take a group of Type 1s to do crazy expeditions, things like summiting Denali as an all Type 1 team. Hiking also teaches me about the things that work and don't work for managing my Type 1 diabetes.
Head to projectinsulation.com for more information. I was so excited about the safari. To me, it was like you win the Super Bowl and you go to Disney World. That's kind of what it felt like. Not a fan of the plane that took us to and from the safari, but it felt more like a real honeymoon. We met another couple. So it was like, oh, there's other couples here. It was more relaxing. We got to sit in a car for like an open vehicle for like hours every day, and it was awesome. It was nice and relaxing. I took my camera and I just filmed the wildlife, and I don't know what I'm going to do with that footage, but I know it's something, whatever I edit, it's going to come out cool. And I got to see so much wildlife. It was just a different pace. We got to really slow down. Those 4 days on the safari felt like forever in a good way. It was so relaxing, a different way of life, and we learned more about how to appreciate this planet. And to see, I thought Kilimanjaro had a lot of variety on it. To see the safari and the variety of animals there, all living in a place that's not controlled by humanity, it's beautiful, special. We went to the Serengeti for our safari, Serenora Valley. What did I learn about my Type 1 diabetes that I would take with me from the mountain? I learned a lot of confidence about my Type 1 diabetes, but I also learned that I can eat a lot of things, and I can take the knowledge, like I know how much a certain fruit is, and I can take the knowledge of what I know with me anywhere on this planet. I think about my Type 1, I learned how much stress and cortisol can affect your blood sugar. And I also learned that I enjoy being hyper-focused on my diabetes because that leads me to the freedom and flexibility of going to the places I want to safely. I think other Type 1 diabetics need to hear that you can have good management of the condition, and that good management will allow you the freedom to do what you want to do. Because I didn't know a 5.2 A1C was possible. Before this, I had a 5.6 and 5.7 A1C. I had a 6 A1C. And not that A1C is everything, but I just didn't know it was so possible to be so healthy in all aspects regarding regular life and Type 1 diabetes. And I am living proof that it is possible. So I think others can take away from me the mindset that discipline leads to freedom. It is okay to be hyper-focused on your Type 1 diabetes, and it is okay to be healthy. It's okay to say no to the donut. It's totally okay to not eat a pizza. It's totally okay to eat really healthy. I find healthy food delicious. Just because the rest of the society and culture is just lost with a diet doesn't mean you have to be. And just because you have a condition, Type 1 diabetes, and you're almost trying to prove to yourself that you can have that donut because Type 1 diabetes doesn't affect you. Nah, Type 1 diabetes totally affects you. That donut's going to hurt you. That donut would hurt you without Type 1 diabetes. So just take away the mindset. I really hope people take away the mindset that it's like, yeah, be disciplined. Type 1 diabetes is an opportunity given to you to be disciplined. And that just opens the door and avenue for you to accomplish whatever you want to, whether that's a job in your life, whether that's a different athletic feat, whether that's a relationship you want to get. It's just use it as an opportunity rather than a downfall. What do I think is next for Katerina? I think Katerina has expressed interest in wanting to attempt Aconcagua maybe, and maybe get to Everest Base Camp. I also think she wants to go on adventures. I don't think she wants to go as to insanely high, rugged, scary-looking mountains, but I think she wants to see remote places. And what's next for her is us starting a family and raising kids with the mindset of appreciation for this planet, appreciation for each other, discipline, respect, and happiness. Type 1 diabetic supports can take away from Katerina everything that she is as a person: selflessness, patience, but being able to stand strong, fight through, overcome adversity, because being a support to a type 1 is extremely difficult. And I see that and I understand that. And I think that she is an example to follow. She is not a support to me in the sense of she's on the sidelines. Clearly, she is a support to me as she is in this game with me. She is in the ring with me. She is fighting type 1 diabetes with me, and I'm not fighting it alone. I think other type 1 supports can take that from her, that kind of mindset. I think everybody needs a Katerina in their life. She allows me to feel what I feel when I feel it, but she's also tough on me and keeps me moving forward. She's another part of me. She understands the way my mind thinks, and she reacts to it in a loving way while allowing me to be who I am. And that allows me to react to her and allow her to be who she is. I think it's so crucial for type 1s to have a support system that is patient, that it really tries to understand the condition and looks at type 1 as if they're going through it together. Doesn't try to ignore it, doesn't try to shy away from the fact that it's hard. Doesn't let the person handle it alone and by themselves, because type 1 is so isolating. I think it's crucial for support systems to be there for people. So type 1 is not just an isolated condition. It's a condition that affects more than just the person who has it. Katerina showed me that. And I think having a support system as a type 1 diabetic is just immensely crucial. And that support system could be online community. That support system can be camps. Type 1 diabetics must support their support system. Their support systems are going through a lot. Katerina goes through a lot. When I'm having a bad day and I feel my blood sugar, I can't forget that she's also having an experience of life her own. She could also be having a bad day. Life does not stop. Life is hard without type 1 diabetes. So throw type 1 in the mix. And also, support systems don't know what we are going through as type 1 diabetics. It must be so difficult to be there for somebody that you don't know what they're going through. So I think it's crucial for type 1s to be just as patient to their supports as their supports are patient to them. I don't think type 1 diabetes has ever thrown a wrench into our relationship. I think type 1 has built our relationship stronger, but I also don't think our relationship revolves around type 1 diabetes. I think our relationship are us as humans first, and then we've kind of had type 1 just as part of it. It's something we're both going through. And I've adapted, but she's adapted with me. So I would say the only way it's really affected our relationship is in our lifestyle, the way we eat, how healthy we are. So it's almost... It's weird to say, but it's almost like type 1 diabetes has a benefit. Not to say there's difficult days, but I don't think it's affected. The days that are difficult allows me to see that I need to be there for her. Also allows her to see that she needs to be there for me. So I think the way it has massively affected us is our lifestyle and our health and our wellness, which is a massive positive benefit. flip it upside down. It's a horrible thing to live with, but because we got it, let's turn it into a positive. I think focusing on mental health for me is very important because I came from a position where I did hate myself, where I was depressed, where I wanted a different life and I did not want to be me. And now to really like myself and to have a beautiful wife and to have a life that I have worked hard to get, I have worked hard on my mind. And there will always be work to do. The work does not stop when it comes to mental health. And I think the number one thing is just being patient with yourself and being understanding to yourself and always choosing the benefit and positivity of life, looking at life as a gift. And if you're upset in life, you don't like yourself, look at what you can change to better it. Don't look at the escape to be suicide. Look at the escape of how you can get that version of yourself that you will like. And that's hard. That takes years. It took me 7 years to learn diabetes. It's taken me 7+ years to manage mental health. And I am eons away from where I was. But that doesn't mean I need to stop focusing on my mental health. And I think that has allowed Katerina, she has taught me a lot about mental health. She has had a close friend to her commit suicide. And she focuses on her mental health and she always strives to make sure people are doing okay. She's so selfless. She really, really tries to make sure everybody's doing okay. And I think when you live with a condition like type 1 diabetes, you have to be patient with yourself because there are going to be so many days that are difficult. And there's going to be so many days when the condition controls you and the condition overpowers anything that you try to attempt to do. So within those days, don't stop focusing on your mental health. Don't stop either meditating or being patient with yourself or coaching yourself through. The hard days are the most important days. And then the days where it's easy, still meditate, coach yourself, be nice to yourself. Those days are just as crucial too. I think it's extremely important for athletes to focus on their mental health. I mean, from an athletic perspective, like what if I did not make it to the top of Kilimanjaro? How would that affect me? It's kind of like there is athlete burnout. I have so much pressure on myself. That is one downfall. I really put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed and to try to push myself athletically. And that can create burnout. So I think it's extremely important for athletes to learn to manage themselves and to learn to coach themselves through difficult times, through losses, through wins. I think it's just as important to learn how to win as it is to learn how to lose. So type 1 diabetes has taught me to be healthy in all other aspects of life because I'm like, if I can be healthy in all other aspects of life, then at least what does affect me from my type 1 diabetes, it won't be as bad if I was not healthy within the rest of the aspects of life. So it has taught me to be healthy, try to really focus on my sleep, nutrition and diet, exercise. The supplement game has really been a benefit. And it just kind of became a boomerang effect because I was focusing on learning about health and science, sports physiology, and human performance, and just all the 9 yards of all that stuff that then allowed me to control my type 1 diabetes better. So it's like I was trying to be healthy in all aspects of life. So what affected me from type 1 diabetes wouldn't be as bad. But then what I learned with all aspects of life helped control my type 1 diabetes. And then it just, boom, took off. And I really think my life changed when I started learning about the condition, when I started learning about the human body, when I started learning. I think education is so crucial. Education on exercise and nutrition is so crucial for non-diabetics and for diabetics because it is that information that I have learned from studying on my own, listening to podcasts, doing courses like NASM, CPT, Certified Personal Trainer, and nutrition course, just learning about stuff, reading books on the gut microbiome, all these kind of small details that I just engulfed myself in. It really is just information. And I think that could solve a lot of the problems that we see with the obesity crisis happening, with the type 2 diabetes crisis happening, with more type 1s being diagnosed. If you just have education on exercise and nutrition and type 1 diabetes and how all of it affects the human body, it can just lead you to just open your eyes, really, to a way for better management and a better life. I'm already back to work. I'm training for a 50-mile ultra marathon. And I'm training using that ultra marathon training for Denali. If all goes to plan, I'll be climbing Aconcagua next year and Denali next year as well. I'm already back to work. I got back and started climbing in the whites. There's no, I tape it off just a little bit, but there really is no stopping me. It's just work, grinding. Keep going. I have ambitions. I got goals. Denali is an amazing, respectable mountain. I want to get there, all in snow and glaciers, a different mountain than Kilimanjaro. And it's a difficult climb. It's not the most difficult climb in the world, but it's another stepping stone. Immense respect for Kilimanjaro, immense respect for Denali, immense respect for like all these big mountains out there, immense respect for Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Each mountain's unique. I'm after them. I'm back to work already. I think the ultra marathon is going to get me in good endurance shape. I'm already training for it. I'm excited for it. I feel great. Kilimanjaro, thank you for allowing us to Uru Peak. The amount of respect I have for you is immense, and I will always cherish and have that respect for you. I will cherish the memories of being on you and climbing you, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to get to the summit during my lifetime. Kilimanjaro, you're a friend. You're definitely a friend. And I left a piece of my soul on top of that summit. Today's recording is reflective of our upcoming documentary film, T1Kili, A Honeymoon Adventure, which is aimed to be released this upcoming autumn. In the documentary, we dive deeper into the specifics of the climb, the type 1 management, and the visuals that coincide with the journey. As I am actively editing this project, I cannot wait for the world to see it. For all our content, please visit T1Determined.net. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, and X at T1D_endurance, and on Facebook and YouTube at T1Determined. Please also like and subscribe, and you can leave up to a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Until next time, keep pushing your limits. I hope this helps. Stay strong, stay determined. T1 Determined.